You're listening to Crushing Club Marketing, a podcast for progressive club leaders ready to increase their club's revenue. The time for change begins right now. Columbine Country Club, just outside of Denver, Colorado, has experienced exponential growth over the last 3 years due to what Director of Sales and Marketing leader Robert Coulard says is a sales culture at the club. After a 7-year decline, Columbine has a new clubhouse and a full membership. In this episode, Robert will share with us how he did it while creating an annual marketing budget that's pushing $500,000. Well, thanks for joining us today, and thank you, Robert Coulard from Columbine Country Club out in Denver, or Columbine officially, I suppose, right?
Yeah, it's Columbine Valley, but we're just outside of Denver, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, really happy to have you on, and boy, you've had such great success. First of all, let me start out by saying congratulations for being named Clubhouse of the Year by Golf Inc. How did that come about?
Thank you. It was pretty cool. We just finished up a 2.5-year project where we scraped and rebuilt a brand new clubhouse here. Our old clubhouse was about 60 years old, so we built a new one. And the architects who we had were Marsh and Associates, and they were phenomenal. And they've done a number of clubs across the country. And I think this is their 7th time building Clubhouse of the Year. So wow. We have to give a lot of credit to them as well.
Now, did that factor into the decision in working with them? I mean, was that something that you guys had thought about?
Yeah, absolutely. We interviewed a number of different architecture firms. However, Marsh and Associates was really the predominant one in our market that was really looking to go a little bit more forward thinking, and we had some kind of crazy ideas that we wanted to have somebody who was kind of along for the ride with us.
Yeah. Wow, that's cool. Congratulations. What a great recognition, at least, for the work that was done and for the new clubhouse.
Thank you very much.
You have had such, I would say it's not even luck. You've created an incredible situation for yourselves, or I should say scenario from a marketing perspective at Columbine. I want to talk a little bit about what you did and some of the tactics and how you manage and maintain your marketing budget and things like that. But let me ask you this. How would you describe, first of all, the health of Columbine Country Club?
It's great. I got here in 2015, and I had been with a number of other clubs prior to this, 4 or 5 clubs before this, throughout my career. This had come at a point where Columbine was, they were on a decline, which a lot of the clubs in our industry have been on. They'd been on a 7-year decline where they were net loss growth for 7 straight years. And they kind of saw the writing on the wall, hey, what are we going to do? And at the time, we realized that one of the things we needed to do was our membership was aging out along with our clubhouse, and it just wasn't a place that younger families would come to. And so after a lot of thinking and planning with the membership, they decided to overwhelmingly scrape the existing clubhouse, build something that's a little bit more forward-thinking, and let's see if we can fill the membership really based on what the clubhouse would kind of look for at the time. And it seems to be great. So now, as of this morning, we're actually full in all membership categories, which is great for us. We have, in the last 3 years, we've sold 252 memberships, and wow. That nets out to a little over $9 million in those 3 years.
Wow, that is terrific. So the actual clubhouse obviously is a factor. There has to be so much more to it than that. I mean, you were, prior to this, when you were in a downturn, it doesn't sound like, at least from what you're saying, Columbine was much different than a lot of clubs across the country, in that time period. So knowing that the new clubhouse was probably something you could use to generate a lot of excitement, what were some of the other things that were really critical for you in turning around the membership?
Well, a couple of things that I really say. The number one thing was we had to create a sales culture. We had to, and that wasn't just, it was my job. Ultimately, I'm responsible for the membership sales. However, we needed more than just me selling the club. We needed the entire management team. We needed the board. We needed the entire membership. And so what we did was we really rolled out a campaign that the membership is really the sales force that's out there. So I could be out in the community and educating and kind of knocking on doors and doing that stuff. Or I could spend my time educating and motivating our own membership and let the 400, 500 of them go out and find the referrals and come back in and we could close them. It really kind of turned this upside down so that it really was a team effort between the membership and myself, or the entire management team, that we were all on the same page. We were all heading in the same direction. We all knew in order to pay for this $25 million new clubhouse, we needed more people coming in the front door and writing those checks. So with the sales culture, it really turned everything around because it really let everybody at the club know we're in this together. It's not just the guy sitting in the seat with the title.
So I can hear some people listening to the podcast right now going, a sales culture? How do you get your members to buy into a sales culture? I mean, it's like you see so many clubs who, you say sales, you say even marketing, and they kind of shudder like, ooh, good. It's just like they got slimed by something. How did you do that?
It was a full-on assault, if you will, onto the membership.
Well, how do you get their buy-in,
Yeah, the GM and I really, one of the key things was the GM and I have worked together for about 10 years. So we've been at 4 clubs together. We knew each other. We knew our habits and our pros and cons and our weaknesses and strengths. One of the things we needed to do was we needed to get the rest of the team on board. So he focused on getting the managers and the rest of the management team, including the board of directors, really on the page that we needed them to be on, which was that we're a sales culture. I was the one that went out then to the membership and really sat down at lunch with them. I went out onto the course with them. I did everything I needed to. I went into their homes and had dinner with them. I would do anything I could to make sure that the members knew that we were serious and we had a one single focus, which was selling memberships. And I needed them to bring their friends. The other thing that was really the big key here was we had to put forth a vision that was really tantalizing to these people, that was going to breed something attractive that would attract all these new members and younger members. And one of the key things I tell people, I know everyone doesn't have the ability to either A, redesign, or B, build a brand new clubhouse. We did out of necessity. We had to do it, otherwise we weren't going to be alive too much longer. And so we built not only the clubhouse, we designed the clubhouse for the people that would be coming in the future, not the people that are here now. So we built it for younger families. We needed younger families coming in, so we put in a new fitness center. We put in a kids' daycare. We put in simulators. We put in all this stuff so that the people who were coming knew, hey, this is a place I want to be. This is a little more forward-thinking, and the members could actually go out and really promote that to all their friends, and that seemed to be a tremendous success.
So I love it, and I get excited just listening to you talk about it because of the enthusiasm that must have been required for you to go do this. But what's the message? Like, what do you? I'm a member at a private club, and you always hear that hey, our members are our greatest source of referral, and you get spiffs for if you bring in a friend into the club and things like that. But honestly, Robert, for me, a lot of times I'm kind of like, okay, I'm not going to go and try to convince my buddies to join the club. But
sure.
You obviously had a compelling something that got to the members in a different way. Can you share what that was?
Yeah, I want to say I think it was what I think it was a breath of fresh air, which was just a change from the past. And you mentioned the spiffs. To be honest with you, I cut those off right when I got here. Spiffs, we found, are not the way to motivate members to bring referrals in.
How come?
Because at a time when you want people out there drugging, their friends in here. I don't want them doing it because they think they're going to get $50 or a free month of dues or whatnot. Yeah. I want people doing it, and this was the message that you asked about. This was the one message that we hammered to everybody was, we want this to be a place where you can come and hang out with your friends. That completely changed everything. Everybody knew this was going to be a family club. It's a little bit more of a higher-end club, but this is a place where the amenities are going to be high-end, the service is going to be high-end, but this is a place where you can come and take off your tie, have the kids go hang out in the kids area, the adults can go do what they want to do, but this is a place where you want to come and hang out with your friends. People really do know your name here. So, in order to do that, we removed the spiff and said, if you guys want that kind of atmosphere and environment, go out and bring your friends in. And that's exactly what happened. We found far more referrals came in, and far more quality referrals came in from people that weren't expecting a spiff, as opposed to people that just wanted whatever, a free bike or something. Right.
I've not heard the free bike, but that sounds interesting. All right, so can we just dive into that a little bit, because it's one of the things that we've had discussion about in other episodes of this podcast, which is really, number one, know who you are. As a club, you have to understand your identity, and you have to get people, your membership, to buy into what that identity is. And we've had conversations with clubs in the past where they can't decide if they're a golfers club or a family club. And sure. my whole thing has been, hey, if you don't know that, how do you ever bring anyone into your club? Is there how much work did you do in that arena, which, of really saying, hey, we need to declare our identity and go to market and say, hey, this is what we stand for and this is what we're going to be about?
Yeah, a lot. I'll tell you. We figured out very early on we didn't have an identity. To your point, we were one of those clubs that was just kind of, hey, we've been around since '55, and we've had a PGA Tour event here, and we're a great golf course, and people are just going to come because they'll want to come. And that didn't work. They saw it after almost a decade of decline that, hey, something's not right. And so when we came in, one of the first things we wanted to do was we wanted to figure out, where are we in the market? What does the market look like? And then where do we fit in that market? At the time, we were not anywhere close. We were about below average in our market with regards to the amenities, with regards to the initiation fee. And so we really didn't understand where we were. It was important for us to realize where we fit in our market. And we did not want to try to be the top clubs that are charging $150,000 a year. We're certainly not a starter club that's going to be charging you $10,000 or $15,000 a year. We were somewhere in the middle of that. And the main thing we really, really wanted to do was we had to figure out who we were, what our identity was, and then we had to go and sell that and promote it to the community. We felt like there was a missing piece, a neglected market within our community, which was the younger family club, or the younger families that are looking for a more luxurious product. So people that could afford to pay $50,000 for an initiation fee, and they were okay with paying the higher dues, but they wanted to get some value from that. And so that's what we put out there. We put the product that is a much higher than a starter club. It was at $50,000 where we started, and we started seeing huge traction. People buying in, saying, "Yeah, this is what we're looking for." Our average age went from 63 to 54 in the last 2 years. That shows you the average age of just the 252 members is 48 years old. Right. So it worked. Something that we were doing certainly called to that younger demographic, and those are the people that have now joined the club.
Wow. So a lot of clubs will talk about getting younger, but they really struggle with it. But it sounds like you guys were super intentional in declaring that and then going out and getting after it. Can you share a little bit about just from a context perspective, a little bit about the Denver market, because I know that it's highly competitive when it comes to private clubs. And I think that, in Minneapolis, people would say, well, it's very competitive in Minneapolis. But I know this, I don't believe it's as competitive in that there are not as many clubs in this area as you have in Denver, as there are in Detroit, as there are in some of the other metropolitan areas. How would you describe the landscape of private clubs and where Columbine fits in that landscape?
Yeah, it's a great question because as we kind of just talked about, the landscape really, I'm not sure anybody at our club really knew what that was. I think too many times people, and certainly at some of my other clubs, we just kind of figured out, or we just kind of went along with the idea, hey, we're going to do what we do and hope, that membership is going to come. When we got here, we realized we couldn't rely on hope. We had to rely on a very strategic marketing strategy that would allow us to really break through the Denver market. Denver happens to be one of the top 5 fastest growing cities in the country right now. We have about 1,000 families moving into the Denver metro area every week. So that's 52,000 families coming in a year that Denver is just exploding. With that, you see tons of new amenities and kind of clubs popping up. So we've got roughly 14 clubs, higher end clubs that are right here in the Denver metropolitan area. And then on the outlying areas, you've got another 20. So let's just call it 35 clubs that are right here that are all kind of struggling to figure out, where am I at? What am I doing? And how do we get a piece of the market? And so with that being said, it's a very healthy environment. One of the things that we really promote is some cross-marketing between the clubs. We realize where we fit in the market. We're a higher-end family club, and there are other places like Cherry Hills and Denver Country Club that are going to have a much higher initiation fee, and they're really playing to a certain demographic, and we really enjoy and respect that because that's not our demographic. Ours is the people that can afford those places but don't want to be at a super high-end club. They want to be more of a family club where the kids are accepted and welcomed. And so with that being said, although the market, we hit it right at a good time, I think we found a good niche in that market that really seemed to be exploding all around the area.
Yeah, interesting. So when you know who you are, you can get disciplined about your competition and who really you're trying to match up against, and those that you're not. So that's really interesting.
Well, and if I could, real quick, Ed, let me just tell you, one of the things that's interesting is we had to learn to be able to say no to some people. And that's an interesting point when you think we had nothing but growth that we had to have. We had to have, 70 membership sales a year, or we had to, slow down construction or phase it out. To be honest, there were some times where we had to say, this is probably not the right club for you. And that's, even though that's hard to do, it's very disciplined. That's one of the things that we really wanted to do was we wanted to maintain the culture of the club while maintaining our sales perspective.
Wow. Because you start bringing in the members who are not the right fit, and it's going to hurt you in the long run from being able to attract the members that you really want and the members that you have. Yeah, sure. Most clubs don't have the luxury of being able to do that. So, I mean, that's really cool. Let's talk about your resources, and you're able to invest quite a bit of money in marketing. Can we talk a little bit about that? And
sure.
At this point, your budget for the year is just north of $400,000 for marketing. Is that correct? Most people who are listening would their jaws probably just hit the floor if they haven't passed out. How have you been able to create that? And let's just start with that. I mean, for people who are sitting there going, "I'm working with a $10,000 marketing budget this year," I can't even imagine something at that level.
Yeah, and I recognize that. I started at a corporate club. At my very first club, we had $0 marketing, and when we wanted to do something, we were kind of laughed at by the corporate headquarters. And we had to fight to I remember it was like an ad in the paper for like $500, and that was it for the year. And I just remember thinking, there's so many things we could do if they just gave us the money. When I got here, the GM and I realized we were going to need a significant investment to get tools, things that were like a website and electronics and whatnot, to just get us up and going to a point where people are going to say, yes, I'll buy into that. I'll write you a check. I see where you're going. I'm in too. In order to do that, we had to build credibility with the board and with the membership. And so to begin in the beginning, the first year we asked for 5% of the initiation fee revenue to be set aside for a marketing budget. Now, the year before I got here, they were doing about between $500,000 and $600,000 a year in initiation fees, and $500,000 and $600,000. So they thought, okay, well, we're going to give you roughly $25,000-$30,000. It's a lot more than we've ever done, but I said, if you just give it to me 1 year, I promise I will double that money for you, and I'm going to come back next year and I'm going to ask for double. They came back that first year. After my first year, we did $1.4 million in initiation fees our first year, which more than doubled what they were previously doing. At that point, when you say, okay, you just gave us $700,000, $800,000 more than we had asked for, and we gave you $25,000. What can you do if we gave you 7% or 8%? Well, I stuck to I wanted 10%. So they gave me the full 10% with a leash that said, hey, look, we're not going to go crazy on this. We do need the revenue, so we're going to give you 10% with a leash. Our second year, they gave us 10%, and we did $2.2 million in initiation fees. Wow. Our third year, we just finished up, we did $3.5 million.
Oh my gosh.
So the reason why I say that is because we needed some tools to sell. And a lot of people, the membership directors who are out there listening right now, are saying, yes, I know there's a lot of people out there who are asking, if I just had, $10,000, $20,000, whatever it is, I know I could do this. And the most important thing I could tell you was, I drew up a very detailed marketing plan. It was 26 pages, and I essentially mapped out every dollar and said, this is where I'm going to spend this money, and I'm expecting this to get back. And this is where this investment, and this is the ROI, all throughout the whole thing. And through it, I said, if you give me $30,000, I promise I'm going to give you $1.2 million at the end. We beat it, and we had $1.4 million. And I think with that, not everyone can, I know it's not so easy to say it's A plus B is going to equal C, but what you can do is you start building credibility through that by saying, now, if you give me, $50,000 or whatever that might be for this one project, this is what I'm expecting to get out of it, and you're going to see your money back. Most of these guys are businessmen. They know, they see it, so they're dealing with this on a daily basis. So this shouldn't be a very foreign concept to them. I just can't overestimate the importance of being able to build credibility and to have your GM out there kind of fighting for you on behalf of the board.
So when you first go out, I love this story, and I love the, especially as an entrepreneur, I especially love it. But so you go to them for the first time, and for that 5%, and you're guaranteeing this return on their investment. What made you so confident that you could do that? Because there are a lot of people that, man, that risk just scares the crap out of them. But what was it? Was this a model that you were able to prove out from the other clubs that you had been at, or what really gave you that confidence?
Well, and I think mainly it's pretty simple. I mean, this is a very easy answer. The answer is because we were getting $500,000-$600,000 a year on walk-up business. I mean, there was no marketing. There was no membership guy here before. It was somebody who was kind of, accepting applications. And so when you bring in a sales guy and you bring in an entire marketing strategy, I mean, the sky was the limit. I knew, without question, at 1.2, and I remember at the board meeting, they said, we just want to see if you can get $1 million. We don't even think you're going to get that. I said, okay. I mean, that's all I needed was, you don't think I can do it? Great. Right. I'm going to go and do that.
Right.
So I knew it was walk-in business was $500,000 or $600,000. If you actually went out and started, doing some marketing, I mean, the sky was really the limit at that point.
That's pretty impressive. So there are two tangents I'd love to explore with you a little bit on this to get your advice and what worked for you in this. You said something really interesting a second ago, where you said when you presented it to them, they're business people, and yet so often we'll hear from people in your role that will say, "Geez, our board is really impossible. They don't act like business people. They don't make decisions like business people, but they're all really successful."
Sure.
Is there a recommendation that you would have in how you present that information? I mean, you built out a marketing plan that sounds like is very comprehensive and very detailed. Is that something that every director of sales and marketing should do or needs to do if they're presenting a plan I know it's coming to the board of directors. I mean, what was your secret in dealing with this group of people who can be very unwieldy and who turn over on a regular basis?
Yeah, an excellent question. One that I know is I've dealt at every one of my clubs, and I know many people, if not all, the vast majority are going to be dealing with this. I say there's a two-pronged approach to this, and they're both very, very key. The first is you have to establish your own credibility with the board. That's first and foremost over anything. The reason why I say that is because they are looking for you or to you to be the expert in that area. So be the expert in that area. I did all the research I could possibly find on every single one of my competitors, on the entire market. I even did surveys, and I went and looked at census records and all sorts of stuff. Who's living in our area? Who is our market? And then I went through literally house by house to see, okay, this guy's a lawyer here, and you can see all of this on data on the internet. Their average or the income in this house is $300,000. They've got 2 kids, and yada. You can go through this whole thing.
Sure.
Well, when you start going through that, I don't think people need to go through that much detail. I was a little anal about that because I really wanted to see, was the market capable of the club and the membership fees that we needed to charge. What I would say is, if you're a marketing or membership director listening to this right now, you need to become the expert in your area so that when a board member slyly goes by your office and says, hey, by the way, what do you think our membership initiation fee should be? Or where do you think it's going to be in 6 months? Where do you think we should be in 5 years? You should know all that. You should know what your attrition rates are. You should know what the needed income, what is your net monthly income and the net from the dues increase that you're going to be selling. You should know all of this. Know what the marketing budget is. Know what the budget is for the membership initiation fees as well as the dues. Where's all the money going? Know what your governance is. If you can establish credibility by knowing all of this, then they're going to stop coming to you and saying, hey, we need you to do this. They're going to start coming to you saying, hey, what do you think about this? And when you start getting that kind of relationship with them, you realize, okay, we're on a different playing field now where I'm in control of the marketing strategy, and it's a dual, it's a relationship with the board. But that does lead me to my second point. The second point, which is very critical, is you have to get your GM on board. Mm-hmm. You guys have got to be on the same page. The GM is in every single board meeting. He's the one that's dealing with the board. He's the one that's running the club. He's the one really that you need out there running interference for you. There are some ideas, I got to be honest with you, that are crazy that I've come up with. I mean, they are psychotic when you think about this. And my GM is out there. He's the one taking the bullets from the board saying, what is he doing running a private jet to fly people to Aspen? Well, wow. You know, it's a good marketing strategy. You know, he's going to get this and this and this. And then he comes back 2 weeks later. By the way, all 8 people on board that flight signed checks. So it turns out to be a pretty good investment. So that's what I say is you need somebody out there that's going to be running that interference for you, that you can maintain your course of action, but you do need help on that. It's not just you alone. You got to get your GM on board with you.
And it's certainly helped that you and your GM have had this relationship and have a history of working together. So there's that trust that's so important as well in that relationship.
That's true. But remember, it started at we had day one also. There was a first day for us, and it took us a couple of years before we started hitting kind of our stride. And if I'm being very honest, it took us about 5 years before we really kicked it into gear. So it could take some time.
Yeah, interesting. So let's get to the other part of this is where some people might be listening and saying, okay, let's go back to what this marketing budget. How are you, if you're able to share with us, Robert, how are you spending that marketing budget annually? Are you going to shows? How much of it is for membership? Is some of that going to like your catering and event stuff? Are you doing it online? Are you buying ads in the Denver Post? Is the Denver Post still in existence? I can't remember.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
The Rocky Mountain News closed down a few years ago.
It did, yeah. The Rocky Mountain News, but the Denver Post is kind of the main publication here.
Anyway, side note.
I would say this. Here's what we do. I have a couple of theories and philosophies that I use with my marketing. They don't work for every club, and they certainly haven't worked at all of my clubs. So I say this: here's what we did. Here's what made us successful. Take it how you would like, interpret it, and translate it to how it might work for your club. I realize not everybody has the budget that we have. That is completely understandable. Keep in mind, nobody had the outweighing membership need that we had either. We had a $25 million building to pay for, and it was all through initiation fees. So we had to do that to survive. And I realize a lot of other people are not in that. So here's what we did. I do not believe too much in passive marketing. So we do a certain amount of publications and that kind of stuff, but not a lot, because it's very rare that you're going to get something back from that, especially being we're a 501c7. We're a not-for-profit club. So one of the things under your tax code that you're not allowed to do is you're not allowed to solicit membership. So you can go and promote the club, but you're not allowed to say, hey, come join, and hey, we've got a membership promotion this month. You're not allowed to do that, otherwise you jeopardize your tax status. So one of the things that we did was, or the way that I kind of spread this around was, I wanted to spend the money in ways that were going to be most effective in my hands. And what I mean by that is I held parties at the club, and I paid for them, meaning the marketing budget,
sure, right,
where members could bring people out. We would have cocktail parties, and we'll have bowling out on the lawn, and we'll do all sorts of stuff. Just ways that members, A, start getting more integrated with the club, but B, they can bring guests to start showing off the club.
Yeah.
This was one of the biggest things because we found more people wanted to be able to say, hey, I want something that I can just bring somebody over. It's one thing to talk about it, but I believe in more experiential marketing. I want people to experience the club as opposed to just reading about it or seeing it.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that we didn't do things like our new website. We spent a lot of money on our website. That comes out of the marketing budget. We have a whole YouTube page that we do all of our own videos. So we bought some equipment to produce those videos and some cameras. We bought a drone to really do over the club that we do ourselves, and we promoted all of these construction videos, and we would send them out to all of our prospects and say, this is where we're at. Come in and come take a look. Come take a tour of the construction site. We also spent money, a significant amount of money, on new members. And what I mean by that is once they become a new member, they sign up, there's a certain amount of money that we spend on them right after they join, because the most excited people at the club and the most members that are going to be more comfortable and likely to refer members are going to be new members. So we wanted people who just joined the club to be so excited about it and start giving referrals that we have a new member box that we send out to each new member. It's $160 cost on it, and it gets hand delivered to their house or to their office. It's a really, really nice upscale box. I know it sounds kind of weird, but it is a very nice. So every time I hear it more and more, they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is awesome! I never was expecting this. I've never heard of a club doing this." And it's just a welcome box, right. And it's got a bunch of toys and stuff, things in it, but it really is. Hey, we also let them know we expect our members to refer members. So new members that are coming in, they're told, hey, look, we are only a club that allows referrals from new members, so we expect you to give us new referrals. And everybody knows that from day one. And so all of this money that we're kind of putting in is really under this scheme of we want the members that are here to go out and find the good prospects and our future members and bring them in. When they come in here, we're going to be ready at the club, and they're going to have a phenomenal time.
That is really interesting. So just the idea of hitting up the members who have just joined and going after, because there is so much excitement, they want to share that enthusiasm with other people. It's really interesting. What was I going to ask you next? Your approach to your role. In your opinion, and granted, I mean, you've got an MBA, you've got great history working in club marketing, but you also have your master's in business as well. how much of your decision making, how much of the decision making do you believe that people who are directors of sales and marketing at clubs need to shed some of the club mindset? And this may not be fair, so with all due respect for people who are in their roles and innovating that are brought up in the club world, the private club business has just reached a point where you have to be able to think in more sound business strategy. I mean, whether it's from planning and from all the way through execution, and then engaging your existing members. It just seems like it has to change if you're stuck in 2000, year 2000, whatever. How has the importance of having a strong business background changed from the way it used to be, do you think, if at all?
Well, it's a good question, because I think one of the interesting things that we are more prone to doing, and we had to consciously do this, is I don't ever look at what other clubs, my competition, are doing. And the reason why is because I don't want to follow any other club. I want to be the leader, and I want other people to always be thinking, what is Columbine doing? They did what? That's crazy. The reason is because we look at our competition not as the clubs around here. We look at our competition as everybody else, all of the gyms, everybody that is competing for those dollars of those prospective members. Those are my competition. And so what I do is I look at the scale of not only Denver, but also the country, and we look at marketing strategies from successful companies that are outside the club business. Oh, how did Uber go from this to that? Oh, they put in this marketing strategy. Okay, let's see how we can apply that to our club. And a lot of that, the business background, just helped me to see that the club, if you keep those blinders on that only the club business does what the club business does, you're limited to what the club business normally does. And so when you look outside of that, you think, we can do things that no club has ever done. And we feel like right now we're doing things that no club has ever thought to do, to say, one of the things was during our construction, we didn't have a clubhouse for 2 years. So we leased a restaurant downtown Littleton, and we turned it into a member-only club. So it was our own restaurant for the members. And so people hear that all the time, like, you did what? We rented our own restaurant in downtown, right on Main Street. We called it Columbine on Main, and for 2 years, our members still got to go to a restaurant and collaborate and have fun and mingle and whatnot, and it just kept the vibe going. But it was we renovated the whole thing, and we spent hundreds of $1,000s on this, but it was all worth it in the end because it kept things going. And that kind of out-of-the-box thinking really kind of keeps us always think, okay, well, what's next? Where are we going to move? What's the next place we should be going, as opposed to, what's the next club doing? I don't mean this to be derogatory to any other club. I just think we think big innovation is being done well outside our industry. There is some being done inside, but we look far beyond just the industry to see what are some ideas that we can innovate for the club.
Yeah, that's awesome. This is on a side note. How much friction and pushback have you had from the board over in the time that you've been there? Do you get much at this point, or do they pretty much just trust you and say, "Hey, you guys have proven this out. Keep going"?
There's no question they are happy with the results. And the club is now built. We just opened it this last November. We're 4 years ahead of our repayment plan on the debt. We put money aside for future capital. So the health of the club is beyond anything we could have imagined at this point, being that we're about 4 years ahead of where we wanted to be. That being said, the club, the board, as you mentioned earlier, always turns over. We've got 9 members, 3 each year roll off. And so you always have 3 new people on there. And I look at that as a challenge. I think a lot of the board members are very pleased with where we've gotten. They're still, hey, okay, what's the next step, which is great. Where are we going to be, in a year from now? Where are we going to be in 2 years? However, the big change now is that they come and they ask my opinion and say, hey, Rob, where should we be? Where do we need to be? What do we need to be looking forward, in that's going to be happening in 12, 24, 48 months? And so it's changed a little bit. And I realize that the money that they entrust me with in the marketing budget, I take that very seriously, and I safeguard that. And I make sure that they know that I don't just go, willy-nilly spending it at no without regard. I want to make sure there's a return on that. And I think at this point there is a trust built that they know if I come and ask for something, they're still going to grill me about it. Ultimately, I think they're probably going to give me the decision or the green light, but they're still going to grill me to make sure I've thought everything through.
Last question for you. What advice, what suggestions do you have for the director of sales and marketing at another club that's maybe where you were, prior to 2015, or where the club was prior to 2015, or the club that's, gosh, we've got a very small marketing budget, and I hear what you're saying, Robert, and my gosh, I don't know how to get there. What are some basic things that you would recommend for them to at least get started down the right path?
Yeah, so I've got 3 basic steps that I do from the very beginning, and they're as basic as they come. But sometimes, it's good to hear them. And here's what I would say: you got to figure out where your club is and what it is. Figure out, if you're selling it as a family club, but you're not really a family club, but you're selling it because you think that's what everybody wants to hear, which is a very popular term right now, you got to figure that out, because people can see right through that. The customers can see right through that, and your members. Mm-hmm. So figure out what you are and what you're not, and figure out where you're at in that market. Sell that, okay? You can still sell, because there are going to be people out there that either A, don't have a great golf course, or B, don't have a great facility, or C, don't have either of those. That doesn't mean that you can't still sell memberships. There's a market for what you have. Just figure out what that is and go sell that. The second thing is that we built a product based on what the market was telling us there's a void for. People who come into you as a sales and marketing person, people that come into you, customers, they need to know that you understand them. I am a big proponent that I don't have a standard tour. I know a lot of people out there, they'll say, hey, we've got a tour, this is what we want them to see. Hold on a second. Rethink that. Don't have a standard tour. Have 4,000 tours and pick which one is right for this couple. I've got an older retired couple that's coming in. I don't need to show them the daycare, okay? Right. They don't care about that. I've got a young couple that is looking, they want to see the fitness center. They want to see the dining. Oh, we've got family dining. They want to see the menu. What are our kids' options? Understand who your market is and then tailor it to them. I do it all the time. I have a term that sounds bad but is not. And people say, well, what are you good at? And I say, whatever you are looking for. Because we tailor our memberships to what you are looking for. If you're a young family, we've got a membership for you. If you're an older retired couple, we've got a membership for you. Are you a mid looking just to golf? I don't care about anything else. I just want to show up and I want to golf and I want to leave. Great, we've got a membership for you. And you should see our men's grill. It's phenomenal. Go talk to Tony up there. He'll take care of you. Right. Everything, I just want to make sure people understand. Too many times I think we try and fit the people into the club as opposed to fitting the club to them. And that's what they feel more comfortable with. Does that kind of answer your question?
Absolutely. Yeah. Was there a third? I think that, or was that the third?
Yeah, the third. You got to create a sales culture. Everyone's got to know that there's a sales culture. If your members don't know and your team doesn't know about a sales culture, then you don't have a sales culture. A culture means that everybody involved knows it's there. So create a sales culture among everybody that are all your key players there, your board, your management team, and the members alike, so that people know there's a reason you're there. You're not there to accept checks and whatnot. You're there to sell memberships and to bring new people in. Show your value to the board and to the members by creating a sales culture.
Terrific stuff. Robert, thanks so much for your time today and for sharing so much information, and it's been super helpful. It's been fascinating for me to listen to, and I know the people who are listening are also benefiting as well.
Thanks, Ed. I appreciate your time, and good luck to everybody out there. Hope to hear some great stories soon.
All right. Robert Coulard from Columbine Country Club in Denver. Thanks so much. And thank you for listening today. I guess it's time to get going on building your marketing budget. Next week, we'll hear from Rick Coyne, the founder of the Professional Club Marketing Association and CEO of Clubmark Corporation. We'll talk about the state of the private club industry and what all clubs should be doing to create and sustain a healthy foundation for their clubs. Until then, keep crushing your club marketing.